2x2, 7 rows deep.
And rolling up to the start-finish line. Looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1.
And electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move. But MNU trying to take a move. Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into Town Row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
The Simufur Club Classic takes us to a truly classic venue today. We return to Silverstone for round 3 of our multi-class series, a circuit that hosts club and amateur racing events nearly year-round, with plenty of them taking place on this very layout. We're contesting the national configuration for today's double sprint feature. 6 corners, 2.6 kilometers, just maggots, no Beckett's. We'll be taking a right turn and cutting straight through to the Wellington Straight, and wrapping up the lap with the classic Brooklands and Luffield complex. So much history here. We'll see how our drivers handle it in a few minutes' time. Hey everyone, I'm Kady Timberfox. I'm joined by Newbie Nick in the booth. Paliku'i's behind the screen with the broadcast. Nick, it is lightly wet at the moment according to our in-game weather system. I think I'm not seeing any actual drops of rain coming down right now, but there is a chance of it later on down the line.
It is very lightly wet indeed. And looking at the weather radar right now, it seems to be pretty clear. I don't see any sort of expected rain coming soon. It means that the track has stopped raining, so drivers can decide to use this practice time as much as they can to clear out the water if they want to, or let the weather do its course and let it dry up on its own. But looking at the weather right now, it doesn't seem like the sun or the wind's going to help take away the weather, the moisture on the track. So you better start driving to get those weathers out. And drivers are out there trying to test out where the grip is, where the crossover point is, if they need to take the dry line or the wet line. You can already hear tires squealing here and there. So they have to figure out if they want to do dries at the start or qualifying, or if they're going to go in the wets. And I think they need to do that now within the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Mix of conditions and mix of tire compounds as well that I'm seeing on our timing page at the moment. It is mostly wets, but we have a couple of drivers out there right now trying to make things happen on the... Oh, that's Maurer around. Maurer Yin, actually, one of our drivers who was on the wet compound, I think might have been on the dries and has just now gone ahead and decided to switch to the wets after that. I'm sure that is probably a decent call at the moment. Our fastest drivers at the moment are setting their times on that wet tire, so that looks to be the one to be on right now. But as you said, with the water clearing in between the sessions as well, and with us, the chances of rain decreasing as we continue on through our format of the event today, I have to imagine that there may be some point where the dries might start to look a little bit better, but of course, pitting in any of these 25-minute races is probably going to be pretty much race over. So I think it's going to have to be a decision that you're going to have to make before you get on the grid. And then 25 minutes later, we'll see if you're right or not.
Well, it's either the whole grid has to do it all together, or you're basically screwed up you messed up your strategy. So I feel like but here's the thing as well. You might not want to bear out this initial starting phase of the conditions if you were, let's say, you want to take out the dries, hoping that the track will dry out over time. Because even if endurance experience, so to say. Doing that basically 2 laps in, and you're already wasting all the time that you might want, quote unquote, hope to save up. It's definitely a very cutthroat thing here in iRacing. And usually, I would say the cheat sheet here is that you can just hear your crew chief tell you if the session is declared wet or dry. If it's declared dry, most of the time you can be on the dry tire and it should be fine at that point.
Exactly right. We'll see what happens as we get into our format today. We've got another about 5 minutes of practice here for you for the rest of it. Maurer going around once again, actually not having a great time out there in the Mazda MX-5 Cup. One of our 2 classes, of course, that is on track today. The other being the touring cars, as driven by Joni Hagner here. We have a double sprint. If you didn't see us the last time out. It's 2 25-minute races today, with, of course, our one-shot qualifying for the series, as we have had for the last couple of rounds. Apologies for missing the last round for our broadcast, but we're back today. So we do have, again, as I said, one-shot qualifying. You have 1 lap, and especially in these conditions, that is probably going to be a pretty hard lap to get. I'm imagining a lot of invalidations, especially around Copse Corner here, because the track limits are quite strict on the exit of that one. And then we have our 25-minute heat race, the results of which determine the grid for our second feature race, which is also 25 minutes long. So hopefully by the end of the first race, we will have all of the cars sorted out. I remember last time for the TCRs who had their lap times invalidated, they ended up starting at the back of the MX-5 grid, which is obviously not ideal. If that happens again, we'll have all of those drivers go ahead and rejoin the back of the pack for their class, just to try to minimize at least some of the chaos. And let me tell you, last time out, we saw a lot of chaos.
Yeah, chaos indeed. As you can see here just now, Rafael did the very iconic front-wheel drive drift when the rear steps out. Usually you'll slam on the brakes, but in a front-wheel drive car, all you do is pin the throttle and hope that your car straightens itself out. And yeah, chaos is definitely a word to describe it here. Luckily for the drivers, Silverstone being as wide as it is, can maybe give you more run off, but given that the rain is now here, everything is now basically bunched up into one single train line, and it's gonna be really annoying for the TCRs to get away from the MX-5s, but they have to find a way. There's no way around it. You have to find a way around here, or else you're just getting held up, and it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's at least going to be a wider track for them to be able to handle the traffic. We could sort of try to form sort of 2 lines of traffic around the lap if we're able to. Definitely a lot more straightforward overtaking opportunities as compared to something like Navarra, which we had in our first round, as well as Lime Rock Park, which we had in our second unbroadcasted round. From what I heard about how that one went on the classic layout of Lime Rock, it was quite an event. Even more rain than there is in this one. I think it was raining continuously throughout basically that entire session, from what I heard. And yeah, it was definitely very, very tough for the TCRs to find their way around. But heading into this one here, you know, Maggots and Baggots, you don't usually think about it as a place where you can overtake traffic, and today it may sort of look like there's a little bit more potential in it, because we are taking that sort of right-hand cutoff road to get right onto the Wellington Straight, which is, of course, going to be the absolute best place to catch anybody, as well as the start-finish straight on the run up to Copse. Now, they're going to have to be careful going around Copse, especially if they're on the inside of an MX-5. As you see right here, that is not what you want to see for the first couple of ones. We do have some technical difficulties. We'll get you back on track in just a little bit, but just from what I've been seeing, at least for the lapping in this practice session, you're definitely going to want to catch him on the straight. A lot of the other corners, it's not looking like it's going to be particularly great. We've seen the cornering speeds be very, very similar between these two classes, despite the straight line speed being so high. We've heard it likened in our chat to, sort of relatively speaking, even though we're not going that fast, to sort of the hypercars on GT3s, that sort of dynamic where the straight line speed is really, really high, as you can see here. But once you get into the corners, they start to be about equivalent or maybe even sometimes a little bit faster in terms of the MX-5 Cup. So you're going to have to be getting your moves done on the straights if you want to lose the minimum amount of time. And if you don't, then, well, good luck.
Yeah, I think looking at just now how the incident happened there was we all, as pro tribe drivers at some point, will want to get ahead of the car in front as fast as possible, and you sometimes just gotta be patient. You gotta time it right so that you don't run into the back of someone. It might be frustrating to just lift mid corner, but you can't just run into the back of people. So it's definitely a really calculated move as we try to get ready for qualifying. And yeah, it's gonna be drivers have to reflect on what's gonna happen to them, see how they want to approach a corner, maybe lift a little bit early. They can kind of get away with it by just getting less fuel. So we'll see how they go, but qualifiers are happening right now, and we're on board with Athena Claire in the MX-5s. We'll see how each driver goes. It is one-shot qualifying after all, so it's gonna be make it or break it, I guess.
Right, exactly. And again, not a lot of runoff in most of these corners. You have a lot in cops especially, but you, again, don't really want to use it at all because if you go off track there, it is immediately going to invalidate that lap. But yep, Athena Leclerc coming around here, TGR driver. We have lots of TGR drivers in this particular class, pulling off and parking it. And we'll go ahead and focus on Kelchan instead, who was apparently right behind Athena Leclerc there. Of course, not actually, given that the qualifying is a solo qualifying, so all of these drivers are on track by themselves. But we're about in the same place, coming around the final corner right now, heading on to our start-finish straight and starting a qualifying lap in the Cup car. Braking for cops here, getting basically all four wheels or as close as you can get to it over that apex so that you can get the best exit. It looked like they kept it within track limits there, so that was fantastic out of cops, and just avoiding the curbs on both of these sort of Maggots and Beckett's complex here. And then for the second part of Maggots, just taking that really late apex onto the Wellington straight, trying to get as much straight line speed as they can. The little rotary engine in that MX-5 working as hard as it can all the way down the Wellington here, heading on down to the 50 mark. It's about where you want to brake for this one. Very, very late apex for Luffield, as always. You can use those little orange markers as a guide. And I imagine they're probably going to be following the entirety of Brooklyn's all the way around here. And then, again, avoiding the apex curb, or sorry, the exit curb there as we get onto the start-finish straight once again. Pretty early timing. We'll see when they cross the line. And Philip Beckefold has already done a 102.6, it looks like, in the TCR class. But for Kelchan there, that is a 110.78. So you can see already, for a track that is only a minute long, having nearly an 8-second lap time between the first and the last drivers is quite significant. We're going to see a lot of multi-class action here, I think.
Yeah, and looking at the conditions here as well, it's more about how brave they are at taking these corners. The track is still wet, as you can see from the rooster tail coming out at the back of the car, and you can see why drivers are avoiding the curbs right now. It's either you take the curbs and risk the car sliding a little bit, maybe use that to your advantage, or you just want to avoid the curbs completely, because if you're on the curb, you might just not get back on track, and you might just lose a bunch of time, and drivers are really pushing it really hard right now. Plasma right now trying to get a warm-up lap starting. I think they're going to start the flying lap now. They definitely didn't start early on like the rest of us, the rest of the crew. But yeah, 110 is basically the cutoff for the MX-5s. 102 seems to be the fastest car that these guys will do. I got a feeling Plasma's going to do 101. Who knows? But it's definitely... You can see the pace gap is already there. It's going to be chaos. I think drivers will have to basically coordinate how they're going to do an overtake here. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they pray to everything they believe in that they don't get held up.
Yeah, exactly. Very significant pace gaps here for most of our drivers. Some drivers feeling a lot more comfortable in the mixed conditions than others. We have Plasma here heading through Brooklands and Luffield, just wrapping up the last of this lap. A little bit of a wider line through that one. I wonder if that was just maybe the car not quite turning in the way that they were expecting it to. But they are going to work all the way around the sixth corner. Not really a corner in either of these cars. It's just completely flat. Not a good lap from Plasma there. That's only good enough for sixth. That's a 102.73, so quite a bit off the back of our front runners here, and not the lap that they were looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely not the results they were expecting, given that they're usually in the fight with their rival, Philip Beckervold, which is currently in P1. But your race doesn't end at qualifying, so drivers they'll just have to pick up all the scraps that they can get. Maybe not get too aggressive at the start. So hopefully they should be able to climb if they want to. If not, it's just a fight for survival at this rate.
Right, so qualifying is over. We are currently gridding for the first of our two races today. Our grid looks like this in the TCR class. It's Philip Beckervold in the Audi Gen 2 TCR at the top of the pile, followed by Sarah Van Vliepelen forming the front row. Then we have Joni Hagner right behind them, alongside Paschetti, and all finish second row today. Futaku and Plasma sharing the third row for the United States. And then we have Tombstone and Ruben Samish in 7th and 8th. Rafael Rodriguez in P9. That's another surprising result, usually one of our front runners in this series. And Hakio Itsumetsu rounding out the top 10 in the TCRs. We have two TCR drivers who did not set a time, it looks like, in our one-shot qualifying. It's Mira Gruntjens and Zrusi Bun who are starting behind the rest of the pack. For the top 10 for our MX-5s, we have Anton Bursbo on pole, followed by Athena Leclerc, who was able to get a good time despite needing to pull off in the first attempt at it. Vigil TD and Parker Olsen on the second row for the MX-5s, behind Ari Mulfatova and Electroshock, both behind them. And then we have Inigo Lopez and Czar on the fourth row. That's actually a pretty surprising location for us to see Suzuka here in that fourth row. And then we finally have Kasai Kitsune and Lucas Kern rounding out the top 10 for our MX-5s. I think we're going to get going in any second here. You can see already, even on just the first line of that the first page, I should say, of our timing sheets there. Lots of no times. I think we were kind of expecting that.
Yeah, it's going to be a really weird start. And I think off they go. I think that's qualifying. I think it's a go. Yeah, it's a go. And they are going to go for a pace lap. It's going to be a rolling start. They are warming up tires, make sure things are all right. It's kind of weird to see Philip in front without Plasma, I must say, but Sarah Van Vliepelen right behind them. It's not too unfamiliar, but it's definitely interesting to see the grid, and it's gonna be interesting to see the fight coming down into turn one.
Oh, and look at that, Rafael Rodriguez starting from the pits. I'm not sure if it was because he wasn't able to get on the grid, or if this was an intentional choice, but I can't imagine that even with the advantages of being able to start behind the pack and avoid some of the lap one chaos, I can't imagine that Rafael would want to have to lap all of the MX-5s in extra time this early in the race. So as for tires, you can see on the windshield of that Honda Civic Type R, we do have some raindrops coming down. That might be raindrops or just simply spray from the cars in front. I actually, thinking about it, think that it might be the latter. Most of our drivers are on the dry tire. We have a few TCRs who are on the wet tire, 3 to be exact, and then 3 MX-5s as well who have also opted for that wet compound tire. But the pace car comes into the old pit straight, and we are 2x2 getting ready for the first lap of our first race for today. 25 minutes on the clock for all of us here as Philip Beckevold looks to lead them away. We have our extra starting procedure today. We'll have 2 green flags, and this is the first one. We have the TCRs already spreading out behind, but that's a great launch from Philip Beckevold, and that's 3 cars around Kady off on the first corner, and that's Plasma as well, I think, who also was caught up in that. That's 3 cars off in the TCRs already. We'll cut back to there in just a second before we get this green flag. Once again, the MX-5s collapsing into their single file format that we've seen them get in so many times before. Looks a lot tidier in this class as well. And there's Rafael Rodriguez coming out of the pit lane right now, has been released directly into the path of this looks like the mid reaches of the top 10. That's Vigil TD, and Kady's around again. So that's going to be another, almost looked like they forgot which direction the car was going in, and that's an MX-5 who's been spun around, I think, by Rafael Rodriguez, who was trying to just try to get through the pack as best as they can. Yeah, that's Anton Burspo. That is our pole position sitter for the MX-5 class, who now finds themselves all the way at the back. Parker Olsen is too wide with another car, and that's Soleil Studio Mazda MX-5 coming through as well on both of them. So 2 positions for one there heading into Brooklands, and they're coming around Luffield right now to finish up the first lap. They're going to be nearly 3 wide on the exit. These ones are going to be 3 wide on the exit. A little bit of bumping around as well between the 2 TGR cars. That's Suzuka alongside Electroshock, it looks like. The both of them sort of getting things sorted out. That's another car off. That's Parker Olsen as well, getting really, really slow on the main straight, and I think they have damage as well.
Yeah, I think Kady's struggling. They've been going in and out within the MX-5 traffic, and it's not been going well for them, and it's definitely causing a lot of drivers here. 2 drivers here, Kelshan, as well as, oh my god, Kady's bumper has just lost it. No, that's not Kady's bumper. That's someone else's front bumper. That's Mazda's bumper has just lost, and it's just chaos right now. I'm not sure if they're struggling with the tires or if they decided to take the wrong car. All this, the MX-5 has steering damage, and that's definitely a toll for them.
Yeah, steering damage, maybe a puncture as well. The car was going very slow, and there was a huge spray being kicked up from that car as well. Lucas Kern just trying to avoid the TCR there as they are trying to get this move done on the number 88. This is for P14, this battle. That's Kasai Kitsune right behind in that 88 Mazda MX-5. Not to be behind very soon, though, because that car is going to get through. It looks like we'll ride on board here with Electroshock, who is just sitting behind this battle at the moment, just trying to take their best look at where they can try to make this move happen. Has to pucker it up a little bit. I don't think anybody has quite settled into a consistent breaking point for cops yet, and I think it might be changing all the time. That is the MX-5 of Lucas Kern all the way around now. That is going to be them sent to the back of the grid. Parker nearly getting caught up with them as they lose control as well, backing up back into the race, trying to get back into this one. I don't know if there's a single car at the moment on track who hasn't been involved in some kind of incident, but you can see as we are on board with Ari Mulfatova, who is just trying to navigate the chaos in that Spezi MX-5, with the sister car, the Spezi Audi, also trying to find their way through. That's Sarah Van Fleetland, who is making a move on Parker Olsen right now. There is a 3-way fight right now in our TCR class for second place at the moment. This looks like a really, really good run actually from Tombstone, who is looking to make it down the inside of Brooklands here. Not quite enough room, not quite enough speed for them to be able to carry on that inside line. Pescetti is off again, just trying to stay out of the way of this group. That's Joni Hagner right behind these two, trying to find a way around. I don't think that wide line through Luffield is really working very well for just about anybody right now. And they're going to actually lose a lot of time down this straight, and we'll have to look for another opportunity.
I feel like Pescetti might have gone for the wrong tire option, or that is a car blinking away in front of us. But they might have gone for the wrong tire option. I think that has caused for some issues right here, and I think they have to figure out if they want to. They are in the pits right now. I think they figure out that they might have to cut their losses and figure out a different strategy. But it's definitely not the right tire strategy, I assume, given that it has been pretty much struggling for them, and unfortunately has caused quite the incidents out front. But right now, yeah, drivers trying to cut between traffic, getting away from the MX-5s that are trying their hardest to get away, but at the same time needing to stay as competitive as possible, because they can give way to the TCRs as much as they can, but they still have a race to finish, and if they give too much of their time, they're gonna get caught out as well.
Right, exactly. It is looking like the dry tire was the right choice for today, for certain. We already have most of our MX5 field has been lapped at this point by the leaders. So we've made our way through the first bit of traffic. So hopefully things will be able to settle down here for at least the next few laps. Here's Futaku trying to make a move on Hakio Isometsa. This is for P11 in the race. Futaku, of course, losing a lot of positions because of that lap 1 incident, trying to make up as many places as they can. Hakio Isometsa has lost 1 place from where they started in this race, up in P10. I don't think this is going to be quite enough of a run, though, from Futaku to be able to get this done. We can see a little bit of sunshine just starting to peek out from the clouds up ahead. There are still a lot of overcast weather just right above us there, but you can see some little bits of blue poking through there. I think that's probably what it's going to look like for most of the rest of this race. So we'll have the water being cleared off for these drivers, and the track will be getting faster and faster as it gets rubbered in as well. Not quite close enough here either for Futaku, although if they do get a better exit, they could look for an opportunity down into the Maggots and not Beckett's complex as we get turned onto the Wellington. Ooh, that car blinking slightly.
No!
And actually, that is such an unfortunate way for the network issues there to break up that fight. That is going to unfortunately be Hakio Isometsa off the road and back at the back of the grid. We'll rejoin this battle for P2, which it does look like this has turned into a battle for P1 now between these 4 drivers, because Sarah Van Vleuten is right on the back of Philip Beckevold right now, currently just about like a 10.5 behind with the MX5 traffic as well, breaking up this little group. Definitely Sarah will try to be staying as close to the back of Philip as she possibly can, trying to get that cutback, but I don't think she had the grip just about on the inside. The track is clearing of water, but there is still quite a bit of water in those places where it tends to pool. So those tend to be on the exits and on the apexes, unfortunately. So it does make it very difficult to get moves done around here. But also Philip Beckevold doing a very, very fine job of defending this as well. Wants to make sure that they don't get a slowdown getting off of the exit of Cops, because that is a slowdown spot if you go far enough off of it. And here we go onto the Wellington again for this entire group. Joni Hagner trying to stick with this group as well, catching the MX5s in a lucky place. Fortunately, I'm not sure if Joni Hagner is going to make it through. They are, but I don't think Tombstone is, and so that's going to actually be very impactful for this race for the top spots. Tombstone now just about a second or 0.8 of a second behind the rest of this group, so they will have to make up that difference on pace, or just hope that they get lucky with the traffic.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit unfortunate for Tombstone for their traffic situation, but yeah, it's just saying about overtaking in the wets. Usually, you're in the dries at least. Oh, there's something about Philip touching the paint there, and that just meant Sarah's taking the first place out from Philip, and Yoni as well. Philip just going a bit too wide, going a bit too comfortable, forgetting that they're still on a pretty wet track, and that's what I was gonna say. That the tricky part of overtaking in these kind of conditions is that in dry conditions, you basically are able to be side by side and fight each other out in this track, but you can't do that in these kind of conditions. You really only have a track, a line, and you have to stick to that line, or else you lose a lot of time. And that basically Philip has shown that going off the line, whether it be on the paint or maybe in the tarmac, as we can see right now, Ari's fighting for positions right now. Who's that behind them? Suzuka is just sitting there hoping for them. That might be a lap car, but there's all fighting for positions. But I was going back to what I was saying. You just can't be in other places, or else you'll lose a bunch of time, and you might get yourself costing yourself multiple positions. And we just saw that with Philip. So drivers have to be really careful and strategize how to make the other driver have, get them into pressurize themselves into making mistakes. Then you can basically capitalize on as much as you can.
Yeah, and all Sarah really had to do there was just apply the pressure and just stay close, and that was enough to just make Philip have to defend and try to just force them off their line. We're going to watch this back, actually. This is the move for a position. I actually didn't quite see where the car got upset. Yeah, it was right on that entry curb. You definitely don't want to try to do that. That was Philip there, I think, just trying to open up the corner as much as possible and carry as much speed as possible. But we're getting to Sierra Thomas here. This is Sierra Thomas trying to work their way around a lapped car. Not anybody particularly. Oh, this is for position, in fact. This is Mira Grunchins right behind in P7, fighting for this position with the Hyundai Veloster. This is the Elantra on the Veloster. Which is fantastic to see. We're heading on to what should be, at this point, our 9th or 10th lap. And this battle is still heating up because, by God, that's Plasma's Music, who has been fighting their way up the front of the grid at this point, just finding that pace in the race that they weren't able to find in qualifying, although that was quite a setback right there. Just taking way too wide of a line, and I think getting on some wet patches there for Plasma, so that is going to impede their progress quite significantly. And in the meanwhile, maybe give an opportunity for Philip to get a car between them and Plasma, which if you have Plasma behind you, getting a car between you and them is probably the best way to manage defending, because we've seen Plasma send some really just incredible moves in this series and in series past as well. Plasma loves a recovery drive.
You can do that in most of the series, but I don't think you want to do that in these kind of conditions. A wrong send here might lock up the tires, might basically have your car go sideways when you're half braking on the wet patch, half braking on the dry patch. So it's definitely not the most fun move, as Philip got too close to Tombstone in front of him, and that's a bumper hit because of the MX-5 in front of them, and basically just caused you to had to get dodge out of the way, and basically because of that, Philip and Plasma have swapped places right now. I don't think Philip's the most happiest, but it's power racing, I suppose. Just gotta make sure that you keep your head down and get that position back as fast as you can.
Too close and a little closer than that for Philip there, and it will cost them a position, but it will give an excellent opportunity to Plasma to work their way up to the podium positions, which is what they are focused on right now, getting past that MX-5, who you can just barely see over the ride height of these TCRs. We're going side by side into Cop's corner. This has never gone badly in any series. You can just about see, I think Jordan is going to just about make it around the outside. That was a beautiful move through Cops, and that is Plasma up into the podium positions. Meanwhile, we have a fight up in front between Joni Hagner and Sarah Van Vleuten, who I think has made a slight mistake heading into Cops, or perhaps Maggots and Beckett's. They're going to settle back into a single file line, but that little bit of fighting will just bring Plasma that much closer to the front group with just about 10 or 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's definitely things are still heating up in this class. Drivers are not settled down. Unlike our MX-5 Cup, I think the drivers there have settled down a little bit. But that is not fun being stuck there with a gaggle of MX-5s. I don't think Sarah's very much happy about it, but it is what it is. Yoni, because of it, is now closing in. 3/10 is the gap right now. Oh, that's Philip going out wide, I think, just to dodge some of the MX-5 cars. But yeah, definitely not the most fortunate driver here in terms of encountering traffic, but still surviving. Still have to get to the end. At least at the end of the day, at least it's still points rather than a DNF. So you gotta sometimes have to think about it. Sometimes it's better to just get points rather than just sending it, hoping to get position, and just end up DNFing for this race.
Tombstone now sawing away at the back of Philip Beckevold's car there, and it looks like we are more or less back in this position that we've been in quite a couple of times before in this class, with a gaggle of MX-5s coming up. We have almost a 5-way battle for the lead. These cars, it's going to be crucial for these cars races to get past these cars as fast as humanly possible. Sarah Van Vleuten doing a very good job managing this bit of traffic here and getting a little bit lucky as well. That will open up the gap just slightly, but Joni Hagner, I think, didn't get the best of exits off of there, and it's going to give Plasma an opportunity once again. They tried the outside last time and it worked. They tried the inside this time and there just wasn't enough of an overlap there. I think just a little bit of a poke of the nose there there for Plasma, but it wasn't enough to be able to get alongside. They're going to have to try again at the Wellington, and if or they could just try it right now if Electroshock gets a little bit in the way. We're rubbing and racing all the way through to the exit. Joni Hagner trying to force Plasma to the inside here, and that wasn't a great exit from Sarah Van Fleepen either, who might be falling into these two cars as well. Has to pick which one that she's going to try to support with the draft. Went ahead and decided to support nobody and keep them alongside, and that's Joni Hagner all the way around, managing to just about recover the car, but is going to join back on the back of this group. And if you're Sarah Van Fleepen, that is not what you want to see in your rear mirror, with Plasma now hounding behind.
Yeah, it's chaos. Well, the MX-5 does not have a front bumper right there, and I can't tell if it's netcode or not. But either way, it's power racing, and it's a bit annoying as one of the drivers if you're Yoni. But at the end of the day, just gotta get back to it. You still have about 10 minutes left in this race to get some results back in. But Plasma is not wasting any time, already on the inside of Sarah. But I think Sarah is still holding it on. This might change coming down into the straights. Let's see who gets held up here. But Sarah does have the inside line for this corner, and we'll see if they defend it hard or will they go for the regular dry line just to improve some of their braking performance. It is still a really wet track, and you kind of want to make sure that you're on the dry patch instead of just defending as hard as you can, or else you kind of just catch yourself into Plasma's trap. And I think that Philip locking up and going a little bit wide, I think that's time lost there, but still surviving in P3. Oh no, that's Yoni already on the move with Philip. I think Yoni is already on P3.
Yeah, that was enough time lost there to give Yoni the advantage through this corner. Very, very close there for the number 26 MX-5, who is just trying to stay alive at the moment. Yoni on the inside will go ahead and get this move done and potentially give an opportunity to Tombstone as well. But Tombstone, I think, is just going to continue lurking in the background of this. We're side by side for the lead of the race in this one, and it looks like Plasma late on the brakes all the way around the outside. We've seen that line work for the defensive line for Sarah Van Fleepen before, but in this case, it works against her favor as she was stuck on the inside of that one. She's going to try to see if she can respond down into Brooklyn's here, and she's going to tuck into the inside corner. We haven't seen a whole lot of grip on that inside line, at least so far throughout this race. The track is looking almost completely dry now, just a few little bits of moisture still on the curbing. But for the asphalt, it is almost completely dry. So it is game on for the lead of this race. And speaking of the top positions of these races, we have a fight between Electroshock and Ari here for, this would be P18 overall, but it's P5 in class that they are fighting for right now. P4 just up the road as well. Oh, that's P3 up in front, actually, that Electroshock is currently hounding at the moment. That's Kasai Kitsune trying to hold off these two. He's had a great drive, at least so far, but the inside is going to turn into a move done, or is it? The 88 trying to hang it around the outside here and just gets onto that moisture and is going to lose 2 positions for their trouble.
Yeah, definitely make sure you gotta stay on top of things, even though there is pretty chaos. Kind of sometimes you got and that's on the paint, going a little bit sideways for the car behind. Definitely, like I said, need to make sure you're on top of things. Kind of make sure that you don't fall into the trap of the track's drying up. You kind of want to go a bit wide. No, even though the track is dry, you can still see some little bits of rooster tail at the back of these cars, and that kind of tells you that there is still moisture. You gotta make sure that you keep your head in the game and make sure you don't lose focus, or else you just caught yourself into traps. As another MX-5 goes out wide here from just calling out wide, thinking that you can still go as much wide as you can, but in reality, your tires are going to lock up because it's still not dry enough, and there is basically no grip outside of the dry line the line that everyone's been driving on.
And different grip in different parts of the racetrack as well. I think we've been seeing a lot more moisture down the Wellington Straight, actually, especially on that sort of outside line. But we do have a clearer dry line forming, as this is Philip Beckfold, who is trying to recover, trying to get this move done. But once again, you can just see as soon as they hit the moisture, especially you're going to have to just stay within the confines of this little dry line. So the track, which looks wide on first glance, is looking a whole lot narrower as things continue to evolve as we get further and further into this race. We've got 5 minutes of racing left for you just about, so not a lot of time for Philip to make up this race and try to salvage as much as they can from their very, very good pole position. they'll be wanting to make up as many places as they can as well for the second race, and that's going to help them quite a bit, hopefully, as they're able to get in front before we even get to Maggots. And that's a move done for Philip. So they're going to be starting now P4 if they're able to hold on to that. Meanwhile, Sarah Van Vleuten, instead of fighting for the lead, is actually going to have to defend again from P3 here. Joni Hagner once again just showing that they have the pace to be able to stay with the whole entirety of this lead group. And Sarah as well showing the pace to at least stick within half a second of Plasma up in front. A little bit of traffic maybe slowing them down a little bit as well. That is definitely going to bring this group back together, but you can see what was a 5-way fight has definitely turned into very clearly a 3-way fight. Now Joni Hagner's staying with this group, luckily, but Philip Beckevold right behind still has quite a ways to go before they need to get up in front. And with only 4 minutes left, I don't think they're probably going to have enough time to do it. So it is the Honda behind the 2 Audis here up in front. We'll see if Joni is able to get anything done. Has been looking really, really strong through this particular corner complex and uses their pace to be able to get closer still. But we've seen, I think, that gap is going to have to be a lot closer than that if they're going to hope to make a move on Sarah, especially because Sarah has the draft in front.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be figuring out when the move should be done. As you hear Zim fighting for P8, I assume, with Wolf in front of him. Yes, and the move has been done. Oh, that's 2 cars going out wide, side by side. Oh, that is Paschetti, I think. Is that? Yes, that's Paschetti going out wide there. Oh, that's in the grass. That's basically, you gotta make sure you recover back on tarmac. Hopefully they are able to do so, but it's definitely chaos right out there. And I think the car 242 is definitely not having the best time of their lives right now. But yeah, Zim right now in P8 with Wolfin in P9, both fighting for positions right now. Back to Joni. That is Joni in P2. What happened to Sarah?
That's
Something
a big
has
mistake
happened.
from Sarah Van Vleuten, who is dropping down the order now from 2nd down to 3rd, down to 4th, down to 5th now, as Tombstone is able to find their way around as well. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see what happened there, but it looked like on my timing screen, just Sarah dropping like a stone a little bit. We're going to see what happened here on the main straight. We're seeing this from Joni Hagner's perspective up in front.
Oh, no.
And yeah, just a complete chaotic incident up in front, and that was just Sarah unfortunately getting caught up in that incident between the TCR and the MX-5. Really, really unlucky day for Sarah there, and she's back down to 5th.
Luckily, not much damage there, but I think the other TCR... Oh, does Sarah have a meatball? Oh no, Sarah Van Vleuten has a meatball. That's unfortunate. It doesn't even look like there's something on my screen, but maybe there is heavy damage in front. But unfortunately, Sarah's going to be dropping in significantly. But now, P1, that's Philip Beckevold fighting for Tombstone in position in front, and both are still trading blows here and there, fighting for positions as much as possible. There is about 3 minutes left, so about a lap and 2 to 3 laps remaining in this race, and they definitely have to figure things out before they cross the finish line. But they still have a gaggle of cars here fighting for positions. I don't think everyone will be much pleased about the racing here right now because it's pretty much chaos, but can't say it's not entertaining for us.
Exactly. Tombstone and Philip still, as you said, trading blows. I think they're probably getting fairly frustrated at the fact that whenever one of them gets up in front, traffic or a mistake or something else brings them just right back together again, and that looks like it's going to happen again here on the exit of Luffield as we head on to one of our final laps of the race. It should be this one and maybe one more, depending on when Plasma ends up crossing the line, but we definitely will see at least a little bit more action between these two. I have to imagine this is, again, with Sarah Van Vleuten dropping down into 5th place. This is a fight for the podium positions, and this is a fight between Suzuka and RA for P19 overall. That would be the upper reaches of the top 10. But we're going to take you back to this fight between Joni Hagner and now Tombstone, who is just trying to fend off Philip Beckevold here. Joni Hagner having to deal with same class traffic, so that might bring the two of them together. It looks like the traffic was very nice to them, however, so I think we won't see a fight for P2 in this one, especially with the way that these two are going at it. Philip Beckevold trying to take the line that they are supposed to, that they are trying to just change up any sort of line to get around here. This is Plasma on the final lap of the race. He's been shown the white flag, and I don't think that with the competitors 3 seconds behind, I don't think Plasma is going to have to worry about anything heading into the last lap here. But you know who is going to have to worry? It's Tombstone, who is trying to fend off Philip through maggots here. Just about does it, takes that really narrow line, but Philip, looking for the switchback, is going to get a pretty good launch there off the final corner. It's 0.2 of a second between these two. This could be enough to make the run happen. Tombstone weaving down the straight, trying to get around these MX-5s, both of them getting around. There's not going to be a clear opportunity for a move, but they're just going to carry the brakes in just a little bit longer than they perhaps needed to. Just trying to close up the gap as much as possible, trying to get that switchback to see if they can cross the line side by side. It may be a run to the line for the cars behind, but for Plasma, it's another drive, another excellent recovery drive for Plasma. That is going to be it for them. Joni Hagner is going to cruise through in P2, just doing a great job staying away from all of the chaos and just managing their race as best as they can. Tombstone takes the final place on the podium, and Philip Beckevold hounds them all the way to the line. Meanwhile, in the MX-5s, we have Athena Leclerc crossing the line to take victory here in Class Vigil TD in second, and Rachel Rat down 3 places from where they started. That is a TCR, so it doesn't count for the MX-5s. So the third place position will belong to Electroshock, who went up 2 places up to P3 in class, and that's a great drive from them as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting first race. I think the track should dry out in the second race, given that how dry the track is now. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how drivers navigate through Silverstone Nationals. I honestly expected less chaos. Turns out I expected wrong. Chaos all around here, especially at Cops. So hopefully you get a cleaner second race, hopefully. But we'll see how where things go, I assume, as we take a small little break here before we go into race 2.
Yep, bit of a warm-up here that we are going to do before we get into our second race for today. But yeah, excellent drive there from Plasma to fight through from P6 all the way to the lead of the race. Once again, just keeping a solid head on your shoulders, keeping your head on a swivel. That's going to get you very far in these types of races. And again, like you said, maybe a little bit less chaos given that a lot of the water now has been cleared away. We're going to show you a quick highlight reel here from our first race. This was the incident that we saw in the dying moments of this race with Joni Hagner getting around Sarah Van Vleuten there for second place in the race. Just completely a bystander there was Sarah for that particular incident. So really tough to see, but it was definitely a really, really great battle up until then, and I really enjoyed calling it.
Yeah, it's definitely a start that was pretty chaotic. Not sure what happened to Kady. Oh, got clipped there, and that's basically not sure if that's caused some steering damage. I think that has caused some rear steering damage for Kady. That's why they've been pretty unstable here, and that's really unfortunate for Kady. As more chaos happened that we didn't even notice at the start of the race. That is just 2 TCRs across the track. That is definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, clipped and launched, basically. I think maybe something with the way that the wheel collided with the side of the car there might have just like generated enough of that like instantaneous torque to launch the rear of the car up. And yeah, probably did more than a little bit of damage to that one. We did see in that race, I don't have a exact count of how many DNFs that we had, but certainly by the end of that, I counted at least 5 or 6 meatball flags towards the bottom of our timing board. Here's the pass that we saw earlier in the race. It was Joni Hagner on Philip Beckevold for P3 in this race. Of course, a key move to get Joni Hagner up into a position to be able to take advantage of that mistake. And yeah, I mean, just when these MX-5s are involved in these battles, it's really difficult to just try to keep a good head on your shoulders here. Here's Jordan Johnson, by the way, Jordan Johnson. Making this move on Tombstone. This was an excellent move to see from the cockpit, just carrying that speed all the way around, judging cops perfectly there. That is hard to do, especially in the wet.
Yeah, and there basically is so much distraction in front of you as well. You see drivers making corners, not make corners, and you can see even when we're looking at the replay, the car in front, they were just all over the road, and sometimes you just gotta make sure you keep your head down, or else you'll get distracted by the car in front, maybe touch on the paint a little bit too much, and you might cause yourself some incidents. And it's good to see that they all held it just nice for themselves.
Hopefully, again, should be a little bit, or at least a little bit drier in this one. I think everybody is pretty much universally going to be going for those dry compound tires. We'll see as we get onto the grid here for race 2. This is, of course, the same as our results for race 1, but we'll just run it through one more time. Plasma is going to start from a well-earned pole position, with Joni Hagner lining up right behind. Well-earned for them as well for that spot on the front row. Tombstone in third, alongside Philip Beckevold in P4, and then Sarah Van Cleveland all the way back in P5. Will need to do some recovering here to get back up into those positions that she started in the first race. Sierra Thomas right behind Sarah and joining her on that row as well. Mira Grunchins in P7 and Ziem Frostmaw in P8. I think that's also quite a good couple of positions gained for that car as well. And then on our final fifth row of our TCRs that we're going to go through, it's going to be Wolfen in P9 and Hakio Isumetsa in P10. So quite a few positions dropped there for Hakio. So we'll have to get some stuff done. So for our MX5s, we have Athena Leclerc on pole once again, Vigil TD in P2, which was exactly the same as it was, I think, last time out. And then Electroshock in P3, Ari in P4, Inigo Lopez lining up in P5 alongside Kasai Kitsune, who we saw some really, really good battling from throughout sort of the latter half of that race. We'll hopefully see that again here as we get that TCR around this grid and just making sure that they can rejoin with the rest of their pack up in front. So that TCR must have finished a lap behind some of these, or maybe for a position behind some of these MX-5s, unfortunately. That'll happen if you get into trouble on the first couple of laps for sure. We have Dano Lee down in P8 and then Inigo Lopez in P9. And then I think Parker Olsen is going to be rounding out our grid here for the MX-5. So, that's Joni Hagner already off, just trying to get some heat into those tires.
Oh, it's another car.
Doing a lot of weaving. I'm definitely... this is unfortunately the best way to warm up this new generation of iRacing tires. So you're going to be seeing a lot of weaving, especially when the track is cool with the moisture and with the grip. So we will be getting here into our second race start.
Yeah, second race start here. Drivers side by side. Oh, that's the pace car. I think almost losing it before coming back into the pit lane. But yeah, it's going to be Plasma's discretion to go for green flag. Regardless, we'll still see the green flag coming up as soon as they go. Plasma is holding up the whole pack here. We're about to get starting in about green flag, and it's about time to go, I think. Up to Plasma to go. Yep, and Plasma's gone. I think that's a few drivers have jumped the start. Not sure what's that about. I'm not sure if that's allowed, but see, Plasma's already gone on its own. Yoni there in P2, and that's Tombstone in P3. The driver that jumped the start, I think, has backed out a little bit. Not sure if that's a jump start or not, but we're all continuing on right now. Still, pretty clean start for the rest of the grid, though. So hopefully no issues there. But it's time for the MX-5 starts here. When is P1 going to start? It's up to Athena Leclerc. When is she going to start? I think that's her starting out right now, and off they go. Single file maybe, given that the track's pretty dry now, though. So hopefully no issues right here as they all drive coming down into cops. Cleaner than race 1, I must say. Definitely a lot safer as well, given that the track's dry. So hopefully a pretty easy start to race 2.
Yeah, it looks like it has been, at least so far. We do have an incident here. You unfortunately jinxed it there. That's Paschetti getting involved in another incident. Their day just getting from bad to worse here as they find themselves down 3 places now from where they started. They're going to have to make up positions on Wolf and Zrusi and Mira before they can get back up to where they started. This is a pretty close battle here between Dano Lee and Lucas Kern here for the lower reaches of the top 10 here in the MX5 class. It's just going to be looking down the inside here in Brooklands. And again, we've seen it. A lot of drivers ducking to the inside there in Brooklands, just trying to see if they can make that move work. And they're just not able to carry the speed around there that you're able to take when you take the normal racing line. And it just ends up not working at all. Meanwhile, we have G-Fox Foxington and Velox Statera as well, fighting for the lower reaches of the MX5 grid. It's Czar as well, trying to hold that position up there. That's the 59 car right in front, and then it looks like they're going to make that move done around the 266. And then in the TCRs, we have Hakeo Isametsa, I think, just now getting around Zim Frostmaw up 3 positions from where they started. So with that incident up in front, has definitely benefited quite a bit from that. But that's Rafael Rodriguez, who's bumping and all the way down the way to Cops. Taking that inside line does get the move done, but we'll see if their exit is compromised at all. That is definitely, I think, going to be at the very least an off track, if not a slowdown there. This is for the lead of the MX5 class. This is Athena trying to hold off Vigil TD around the outside of Brooklands, which becomes the inside of Luffield, and I think she holds that really, really well. Some great defending there from Athena Leclerc, who holds on to the position from the 26.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to cut it off that there is some meatballs that I see on the timing sheet here, but there is a fight for P9. That's Futaku getting overtaking Zim. That's touching the paint. Luckily, good save right there, and definitely a very dangerous line to be taking here in the wets. It's a bit deceiving that the whole track dry, but I can see some drivers getting caught out, touching the paint there, and that's another driver spun out, hopefully recovering well, but that's definitely not going to affect Maple, as well as Athena Claire in front right now fighting for positions here.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to be able to use the additional grip on that outside line to be able to get a little bit of a higher top speed, but it's still just neck and neck between these two cars. We're right on board with the front bumper here, and both of them braking at almost exactly the same time. That was well judged there from Vigil TD, who is trying to just saw away at the back of Athena and try to find a way around, but Athena, to her credit, holding her cool and just making sure that she stays in front of this car as we head back onto the main straight. This looks like it's going to be the best chance that Vigil TD has had this entire race, heading around turn 6, and I think that Athena is just going to try to hold this around the outside as well. They're tucking back into for a little bit more slipstream and switching to the inside line as well, braking late, getting to the inside, curbing, and there's going to be probably a little bit of contact there on the exit, but she's going to hold it really, really well. She's going to have the inside for the Maggots complex here into the right-hand corner, remember. We have more taps here as we are getting all the way down to Maggots, and she's going to just try to hold that as well, and these two have been going side by side for basically an entire lap at this point. They are still side by side, but I think Vigil is just going to have the advantage, but don't count Athena out of this yet. She's going to get back in for a little bit more slipstream and maybe try to make this send happen. She's signaling towards the inside of the track, and I think maybe just backed out of that one straightly and trying to get Vigil to get off their line. And it did work a little bit, but Athena getting loose as well, and Plasma joining right behind the back of this entire thing and just trying to make their way through, with Yoni Hagner not that far behind after a full sort of clean lap of racing. So we're going to have the traffic beginning to affect things here, and that was maybe not quite the break that Plasma wanted. It's a little bit of a gap between first and second, but not that much.
Yeah, I think Athena definitely is getting a bit more flustered here, but right now cars about 3 wide going into Cops. Luckily, only became 2 wide as they come into the exit here, but hopefully they all survive with the traffic coming out. Oh my god, that is a gaggle of Herex cars in front of them. They definitely have to figure out if they want to be brave or just be unreasonable, and I think being reasonable is what Zim chose, but definitely has cost them position here. But I think it's better to be reasonable than not survive, and Zim has maybe caught the wrong side of that gaggle right here and definitely lost a couple of positions there, but nothing they can't recover. They still have more time, about 20 minutes left in this race.
I mean, Sierra just got the better of that traffic and also navigated it incredibly well. That's going to be at least 2 or 3 cars now between her and the rest of the opposition
that's
behind.
Oh,
and that is that's electroshock all the way around, unfortunately, in the TGR MX5, just getting caught up in that huge gaggle of cars. And speaking of a gaggle of cars, ooh, a little bit of a side swipe there from the TCR on the outside, just getting around as Suzuka is trying to get this defense done here against their teammate Parker Olsen, who's going to send it all the way up the inside here. And I think Suzuka just getting that one a little bit wrong, and it looks like that's going to be a pretty comfortable lead now for Parker in that, what is this, P7 or P8 position in class.
Yeah, meanwhile, P1, Yoni about to make a move on Plasma. I think that move's going to stick for a little bit, but Plasma has better grip on the outside. I think it's been like this off and on Plasma on the paint, though, that has caused them to break a little bit funny here. Yoni just tapping Plasma in the back here, trying to get the move on here. They might want to figure out if they want to work together or make the move right now, given that if they work together, they basically have Philip basically in the dust. They can fight forever and not have Philip catch up. But right now, they have to figure out if they want to lose time for the car in front or just use the draft to their advantage, and it's definitely something that they have to figure out. And Plasma on the paint can't recover from it. I think Yoni's gonna have a move on here on the left side here, maybe on the outside, maybe on the outside, on the inside. They might get advantage here. I think that's a move for Yoni, and I think Yoni's gonna hold on to P1 for now before Plasma's gonna come in for an attempt later on this time in next lap or so. But no, wait, it's not done yet. Plasma's on the side by side with Yoni. I think Plasma has a great run, and we are basically getting squished by Yoni right here, coming down into Brooklyn's, and it's gonna be Plasma getting back into P1. Yoni though on the inside for left field. Not sure if they definitely didn't learn from Plasma, not be on the paint on the braking right there, but definitely still holding on the inside. But Plasma has the better run here, and Plasma holds on to P1 for now.
That's one of those defenses where you have to give up your position so that you can keep it in a certain way. But here we go. Here's Electroshock trying to recover here just through this gaggle of cars, and they will go ahead and make that move. I think Velox here, or that's Anton Burzbo actually in P8. In this class, who is going to try to make this happen. It's going to be 3 wide into Brooklyn. A little bit of a tap on the outside is going to send the 73 out. That is Velox Stratera, who is not able to hold it on the inside there, and I think that it's going to end up being Burzbo, Electro, and Velox here for this little group. It looks like it's pretty close out in front again between Plasma and Yoni Hagner, but just a little bit of a mistake there, I think, from Yoni is going to bring them a little bit farther apart. Here we go down the sort of second back straight, I should call it, the run up to Maggots here after Cops for Suzuka and Parker, who are still trying to fight this out, trying to sort themselves out here. And Tombstone as well, working their way around the final corner, getting the move done, it looks like, on Sarah Van Vlietland, who has not made the progress that she wanted to make at the beginning of this race. She's still down in 5th from where she started, and she's just not really getting up to grips on these drier conditions here. We can still see those puddles and those couple of places where, like, especially Plasma has gone off a couple of times at this point. It's easy to forget, I'm sure, if you're a driver and you're just going across this entire circuit. Basically everywhere where there's asphalt is pretty much dry at the moment, but you can still, just like they did there, just like Velox did, I should say, you can still find those wet areas, and as soon as you do that, it's going to be over for you.
Yeah, I think we've seen so many cars get caught out, both classes, MX-5s and TCR, just get caught out in the paint, especially on the exit here, braking on the paint with basically a death sentence here. And I think some drivers have learned that here and there, but this is Yoni Hagner and Plasma weaving at the back bumper of Yoni, trying to make a move here, and Plasma might have the inside here for Cops. And will that be a good run for Maggots? No, I think Yoni is still holding on to P1 right now. Plasma has to figure out how they're gonna play this out. I still staying on the outside for Maggots, but no, falling into single file for it. Thinks better of it, but might have a run here. But Philip, as you can see here, Philip has basically closed in the gap. Toombi though has an incident here. It's falling out behind very fast. Not sure what has happened there, but I'm coming back into here. Philip has basically come to within a second of this fight. Might have a chance here, but it's definitely interesting to see that Toombi is basically fallen off into P6. But Plasma now on the inside of Yoni makes sure not to break on the curb, and that's been side by side a little bit of argy-bargy here into left fields, and definitely make sure that stay alive a little bit. Tap again, coming down before woodcut into the back, into the start finish straight, and that has closed Philip down into 6/10. This fight has caused Philip to now be able to be in the fight for the podium.
Yeah, the 73 MX-5 here getting in the way maybe between these two a little bit, but gets towards the outside of Kops, so hopefully not really too much time lost there for Philip Veckevold, who is just licking their lips looking at this fight that is continuing to happen. Meanwhile, we have some more fighting further on down the grid. This is Hakio Isametsa just trying to hold this one. And there's Sierra Thomas in front. So this is a three-way fight here for the sort of mid-table of the top 10 here for the TCRs. I think that's going to be move done there. So Futaku down another place here in the TCR class, and so now Sierra is going to have some defending work to do here down the main straight. Doesn't have to worry about it so much here into Brooklands, or is she? That's going to be a little bit of a look there, but we've seen that line work. That might be the first time that we've really seen that line work in this entire race, and it's Hakio Isametsa making it work, and that's them up into P7 here. They're going to be hopefully on the back of Tombstone soon for P6.
I think Sierra might have gotten spooked from the center inside and may have looked a bit too much on their inside, on their rearview mirror and stuff on the track in front, and that's definitely cost them a little bit for the braking into left fields. But right now they have to make sure they don't stay on the curb, and I think that's what happened. They struggled, and now basically Futaku's get the position back from Sierra Thomas, and that's going to be unfortunate. Sierra's got to make sure they don't go out wide into the curb. Like I said, the puddles are still there. Drivers will basically aquaplane on there, and you basically have to slow down to recover from it, or else you'll basically be off track or in the grass, and drivers definitely don't want to be there if they want to race in one piece.
We've seen everyone from the leaders to like the sort of bottom of our grid run into that just throughout this entire race. Let's go back briefly here for that three wide pass that we wanted to take a look at once again here. Take a look at this. This is Anton Bursbo here, who is just making this done in the MX-5 class, in the sort of third position in this train, but is just about going to make it happen here on that inside line. As you can see, it's gripping up more and more as we get further along, and then just that little bit of a tap there to Velox just knocked them out of that fight.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit unfortunate. Oh, that's Taylor Mathis, sorry, going out into Rachel Rat, sorry. Oh, is that Rachel? Sorry. Going out wide there. It's definitely interesting to see, going out into the paint. It's not definitely the idea here, but surviving nonetheless.
Surviving nonetheless, that's kind of the best that we can do sometimes, especially in these types of conditions. So, race settling down a little bit here, although I think we still have a lot happening here at the front. This is, we're following along with Plasma once again here, who is, once again, finds themselves in the lead of the race. Yoni Hagner, however, really not that far behind still, and especially with that traffic, that was actually very, very well predicted there from Yoni Hagner to be able to stay within touching distance of Plasma here. I thought that was going to break up this fight just briefly, but there's not going to be any rest for Plasma, as Yoni is going to continue to get the benefit of the draft all the way down the back straight here. We're heading into Brooklands right now. That is a lapped car up in front. That is one of the Crazy K9 TCRs there that they are going to have to work their way around. Hopefully shouldn't deal with them too much. Here's Ari, who's making this move happen, maybe, but not quite, on Parker Olsen, who now finds themselves not fighting with their teammate anymore, but with another driver entirely. But this is still for P3 of this class, so a very important position here at the bottom step of the podium that these three drivers are all going for at the moment. May have been a little bit of a mistake earlier on from Suzuka as we get onto the next of our laps here. We have about 10 minutes left as the leaders make their way around as well.
Yeah, it's definitely, things have kind of settled down, but at the same time not settled down. Oh, that's going to be unfortunate for Sierra Thomas there, just being caught in between the MX-5s. But luckily not much time lost there, but it's definitely, you can see here the fight still is going on for the lead for the MX-5 Cup cars. Not the most, or not P, sorry. Is that, no, that's not for the lead, that's for P3. So, it's still an interesting fight, but, things have kind of settled down for most of the drivers here. And right now we still have 10 minutes remaining for this race, so it's not done just yet, so drivers can't just relax. They still have to make sure they stay on top of things. Might have pushed it a bit wide here, but a good run there for Ari right here. But I was gonna say, you gotta make sure that you stay on track, just so that if anything gets caught up down the line, given that there's still 10 minutes remaining, you're there to capitalize on it. Also, if you relax, you lose a bunch of time. That might cost you the position that you might gain from just staying awake.
Yeah, certainly don't rule anybody out in both of these classes here, and I think that is actually also a little bit of damage there for Ari's Spezi Mazda there. So, yeah, that front bumper damage definitely not helping the top speed. We said it in the last round as well, but when you get damage on the front of the MX-5, not only is it going to hurt your aerodynamic efficiency and your speed on the straights, but even more important for your speed on the straights is the engine, and that is where the engine is housed. Although Ari is going to try to make this happen, we'll see if it's affecting her at all as she gets down the outside here of Parker Olsen and looks to be actually legging this out really, really well. Suzuka looking for a potential opportunity to get into this from behind, and Ari just braking on the outside, not able to carry the speed, and Parker's going to stay up in front for now. They're going to make their way through Luffield as well, and you could see just the little bits of a little correction there from Suzuka as well as they get onto that bit of wet patch as well. But I don't think that this is going to be quite close enough for them to get truly involved. They're going to have to wait for a little bit more fighting here, which could be coming your way anytime soon, maybe as early as into Cops. No, it looks like Ari's going to back off. Not exactly the place where you want to send one, although we've seen it plenty of times as well. There's a better opportunity coming up here as we get onto the Maggots complex here, and the cars will be braking right about now. You can see them pitching forward under the G's of braking, and Parker just about managing to stay out in front as well. But this is now truly a three-way fight. It looks like Parker is probably the slower of the three of these cars, and it's sort of bunching them all up. Suzuka might have a run here, but no, they're going to go ahead and give the bump draft here to Ari, just playing the team game and trying to stay up in front. Playing the team game, of course, with the driver that is not their teammate in this in this group of cars.
Yeah, all the more to give yourself some tactic advantage, I must say. You know, push the car in front to the car ahead, just so that they could fight. So that there's a small chance that you might just capitalize on anything that might happen or might not happen. You know, we never know what's gonna happen. So might as well just give them a good nudge rather than slow them down.
Right, exactly, especially heading into that particular compost, because we haven't seen a whole lot of opportunities there to overtake anyway, not unless there's a little bit of a mistake up in front, which is really kind of all that Ari is looking for here at the moment. Just one little mistake from Parker Olsen. We've seen Parker be a really, really consistent driver in the past. That might be the opportunity that she was looking for, though. Right there on the outside, I unfortunately have caused Parker to make a mistake there. They're going to be side by side here. She's going to see if she can make this line work again, though. And I don't know if Suzuka's trying to guess who's going to make this move work and see if they can follow them through. But Parker, once again, is going to make this work. And Ari just not finding the grip and the confidence on the outside to be able to get that send done. But it's also able to carry just enough speed to make sure that Suzuka's not able to take a look on the inside either. Yeah,
it's definitely all about mind games right now. You still have about 5 minutes or so to figure out what you want to do with the competitor in front of them. While at the same time, you can't also remember that cars behind are taking you. Kind of forget about this right now because this pocket off the track is surprisingly calm, unlike the rest of the pockets off the track. So it's definitely something that we have to bear in mind. Futaku in P8, I think, just got a yellow flag. I'm not sure if they have spun a little bit here and there, but they seem to be doing just fine on the timing sheet. But yeah, this fight right now, you can see here, Suzuka's getting close, and I think Parker also just having a little bit of a struggle coming down into Maggots, because every time in this corner, Ari just gets a run for it, and I think Parker has to sort themselves out for this corner, or else they might just get caught out all the time here.
Yeah, these three sizing each other up, seeing where they're faster, seeing where they're slower, Ari choosing not to go for the move there, but it was almost an accordion moment there for all three of these cars, and Suzuka being at the back was in the most danger there for sure. Ari watches out wide, though. It looks like maybe have made a little bit of a mistake, gone a little bit too deep, but she's able to carry the speed at the very least, and so that's able to keep her out in front. Suzuka just trying to take advantage of that move, unfortunately falls even further behind these three, and that might just solidify solidify the fight between these two rather than the other ones, as we see Plasma coming through this group as well and splitting them up, actually. Splitting them up through cops, that's going to be a huge ramifications for this fight in the MX5 class for the podium. And I think that's just about going to drop them back. And Joni Hagner trying to get around as well now. Philip Beckevold right behind, who has done a really good job of catching up to this group. But it looks like it's just going to completely dismantle this this run that Ari had on Parker Olsen, unless the TCRs force Parker to the outside, which it looks like they did a little bit. And I think that was just about the only thing keeping Ari just about on the back in the very edges of Parker Olsen's slipstream, which of course is all you need. It is crucial that you stay within that sort of second, little bit over a second gap, just to make sure that you get as much speed as you can. But I think that also put Suzuka out of this fight pretty thoroughly as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, that has basically get Suzuka with like 2 seconds plus the gap between them. So Suzuka definitely has to bank on another set of TC cars to slow the grid in front down a little bit more, and just so that they could get back up in front of them. But right now, it's just gotta be make sure that they don't lose focus, keep the gap as close as possible, maybe catch up a little bit if things happen. But yeah, right now, Philip Beckevold in front of behind Yoni right now. Definitely the fight for P2 is materializing, given that Yoni is not in front of Jordan anymore. Right now, it's just a fight for P2, and Philip still needs to figure out how to make an overtake here. They seem to be able to lap here fast enough, but they have not basically figured out where they can overtake here. It's not the most intuitive place to overtake. So definitely, it's not the fault of Philip at all. It's just that it's a really hard place to overtake, and Philip sees that they might be able to get a run, but Yoni just right in front of them, parking it. There's not much place where Philip can go. Maybe they can figure out a way to slingshot across with Yoni in front of them. Who knows? But they have to figure out within the next 3 minutes. That's how much time we have left for this round. And if they don't do it, they're just going to have to sit in P3.
Yoni without that all-important draft now, but definitely has the draft now as Ari Molfatova, who is heading down the main straight here up into Cop's corner. Again, does not want to send this, is playing this really, really smartly. She is just trying to stay behind here and just make sure that she looks for a better opportunity. There are better opportunities around this lap. One of them is coming up right now as we head into the Maggots complex, and I don't think that was enough of a run there. But this all-important corner, this corner that we've seen Parker struggle with in the past, and I think is still struggling with it now, and I think that is going to be more than close enough there for Ari to at the very least pull alongside, get some side draft. Parker's going to telegraph early to the inside. Ari is going to take that invitation to go to the outside. A little bit of a blink there, unfortunately, from Parker Olsen. The car is still gone. We don't see the car anymore, and I think that might have been just a straight-up disconnection for all the way to the back. That is a disconnection for Parker Olsen, so an anticlimactic.
No, it's back. He's back.
There they back. Back and in front has utilized the disappearing defense perfectly in that little fight there, and it does help when you can make your car disappear in battles like this.
Don't do it too much, or else iRacing will send you back in the pits, and you do not want that. So definitely want to make sure you don't do that too many times. But that's definitely has bought Parker Olsen some time. I don't to Ari's disgruntled, I must say. It must be really annoying for the driver in front, driver behind. But definitely, maybe they can only do that 2 more laps before the end of the this session. But it's gonna be Jordan Plasma's last lap here across the line. It should be white flag. No, this is the last lap past this line, so it's gonna be white flag for Plasma here, and it's gonna be a pretty smooth sailing P1. I think there's still much time left. Oh, that's where is Parker Olsen? Ari is still trying to make a move on them, but Parker blinking left or right. Definitely gonna be interesting to see if Ari is just gonna say, screw it, I'm just gonna put it in there. If they're there, they're there. If they're not there, they're not there. But it's definitely a little bit annoying, but definitely still white flag here. They definitely have to make the move here. It's either now or never. Plasma on the inside here, Ari on the outside. Who have the barrel line here? I think Ari's gonna have the barrel line here, but will Parker just park it right there? No, Ari's gonna do a switchback. It's gonna be side by side coming down into Maggots. It's a straight before Maggots, but who's gonna have the barrel line here? It's gonna be predictably Ari's gonna be having the barrel line, because they're gonna have the braking zone into the cut into these straights. But Parker Olsen will have a better run on the outside, but a little bit tapped there means that they're going to be side by side into the straight. Who will have the better exit here? I think Parker Olsen still has the better straight. Plasma has crossed the line, finished in P1, but we're going to go back into the race in a little bit. Right here, Parker Olsen with Ari behind there. Who will be brave here? I think Ari must have either send it now or just be content with P3. I think Ari has decided to be content with P4, right now, because it's better to just stay alive than to just lose a bunch of positions here. And I think it's going to be opportunities lost here, I think. I don't think Parker Olsen might have another run here unless any incident in front might happen. Please don't do that. Oh my god. Not with the blinking here, but thank God everything's all right. Oh, that's going to be a bump on the bumper. Who's going to be in here? And it's going to be across the line. And I think that's Parker in P3 and Ari in P4.
Oh, take a breath. That was definitely a lot tenser than it had to be there through that final run through the Luffield complex there. But yeah, no, definitely I think Ari will be ruining that damage that they might have gotten early in this race, because I think that probably made the difference for her in this one. Jordan here flying in formation with Philip Beckevold here, who ended up finishing P3 in this one. Joni Hagner finishing up in front, only about 0.3 of a second between those two across the line. So it was a great battle between Joni and Philip, but in the end, Joni secures a second P2, so second in both of these races, and it's a win in both races as well for Plasma, who's going to do some excellent reverse donuts for us as well as
careful.
Philip. Ooh, yeah, be very, very careful there with Sarah Van Fleetland, who is just trying to get around the track and cross the line here in front of, or not in front of Tombstone, but behind Tombstone rather, who finishes in 5th. Down in 7th, we have Hakio Isometsa, and then Futaku making up 16 places. That's fewer than, that means that they started at the back of the grid, so a great recovery to get into the top 10 for them. Sierra Thomas down 3 places, will end up finishing 9th, and Paschetti up 1. Will end up in P10 in our TCRs. And across the line for the MX5s, it was Athena Leclerc once again taking victory, with Vigil TD following closely behind, but not actually that closely by the end of it, about 8 seconds between those two cars. It was quite convincing for Athena today in both rounds at Silverstone National here. And then it looked like Parker Olsen that we saw on that final lap, finishing in 3rd, just ahead, and I mean really just ahead of Ari Bolfatova, who ended up finishing in P4, but a great performance from her nonetheless. Inigo Lopez in P5, Anton Burzbo in P6, and Electroshock in the middle of that group that we saw earlier between Anton, Electro, and Velox, who finished right behind. Dano Lee in P9 and Lucas Kern rounds out our top 10 for the Cups. How do we feel about this one?
Chaos. I do not envy the stewards. It's gonna be interesting. I think some of the drivers are discussing in terms of what they could do better in this race, but for now, I can't say anything at this point. It's really tricky conditions. It's already, even in endurance racing, it's already a pain when we have to fight different class drivers in these kind of training conditions. A lot of drivers get caught out, and it's unfortunate that some drivers, it's their first time in these kind of conditions, and it's definitely not the best conditions to race in. It's not the easiest. It's definitely very challenging, but it's drivers just have to kind of take it up the chin and have to make it work. And some drivers have survived it, while others have seen struggling here, and kind of shows you where seasoned drivers that are used to changing conditions excel here.
Yeah, we're taking you through the highlight reel right now. iRacing definitely one of the hardest tracks out there to handle with the wet weather, the way that it changes, the way that it sort of organically evolves over the course of both of our races today. You know, we saw that even in our feature, it just wow, I did not see that happen. That was a huge hit there. Was that Tombstone that was involved in that? No, I think it was.
I think that's Tombstone.
Car. Oh, that is Tombstone actually. In fact, and that was Sarah getting around Tombstone. I think this was in earlier in the second race. But yeah, so our drivers will be very glad to hear, I think, that there is no more rain expected for the rest of this series. So thankfully, don't have to worry about that for the rest of this. This was quite a battle, wasn't it, that we saw here?
Yeah.
We were riding on board with Hakio a couple of times here for this little gaggle of TCRs that stayed pretty much glued to each other through the course of not one but two races here today. That's something that Silverstone National will tend to do. You know, such a short lap here. You do see those little differences, just keeping everybody together, and the weather as well. You know, like even at the front of the field, we saw drivers making mistakes, and that was enough to give the opportunity to the folks behind.
Yeah, speaking of shorter lap times, drivers can definitely take a breather next round. Just looked at the calendar as we look at the highlights in front of us. The calendar in front, oh, that's gonna be a hit from these two drivers. Definitely interesting there. But I was gonna say, they can take a breather because we're gonna have longer lap times to next week. We're going into Road Atlanta. It's gonna be the full course there instead of the usual club layouts that we used to get in these kind of racing for our past rounds. So they're gonna get the full Road Atlanta layout, the full Road Atlanta experience, and it's gonna be pretty much a more chill, relaxed kind of thing because you're not racing for lap after lap constantly. Hopefully less chaos. Fingers crossed.
I think they'll still be doing it, especially with how close how tight and narrow that roller coaster in Atlanta tends to be. We'll join you for that one, but for now, that wraps up the action here in the UK at the Silverstone circuit. That's it for us. I'm Kady Timberfox. That was Newbie Nick, and that was Paliku'i showing you the highlights, showing you the camera shots. Great work on the chopper today, and we will see you all in a week's time. Good night.
Bye.